Morning. And go with the sorry. Yeah, good morning. Good afternoon. Good evening. Depend on your time and your location. I salute you and I greet you from my location. From here, it is good afternoon. Receive my warming greetings to you all. Please, as I welcome you, please endeavor to welcome another person to join us this wonderful afternoon for us to go into things that concerns us as Biafran people, that our government is in exile, that we are not only the one that their government or who want to get a country from exile, that many countries has gone through that process. That is why I will easily said that in this movement that we are into, history must surely repeat. Our own are not going to be different from other people's, the way they acted. In Europe, many countries being declared in exile. The same in Africa. Their government also made a declaration in exile. They are in exile and control their territory until they got a fully international recognition. Our problem remains that we don't have time to research and think of things and look for things the way it is. We want quick action, and we always claim that we know it all when we know nothing. It's part of purely our problem. Oh, Biafra government in exile, or in exile declare a country. Many people in Africa has done that in the past. Many in the Europe has done it in the past. So we are not the first. Neither are we going to be the last people. So that is the main headline. History of many Africans, that the government made a declaration in Africa, in exile, until they got their international recognition. They now become a full body country and defend their territory. So, Emmanuel, you are welcome to this Hello platform. Thank you so much. Good afternoon from here, my brother. So I want to know that what we have done on November 29, 2024, we are not the first, neither are we going to be the last, or either we're going to be the last, because it's a movement. In Igbo, the Igbo adage are saying that my senior comrade, Biafra Dos, I greet you officially from here. Good afternoon, sir. You're welcome. Thank you so much for all you do for Biafran people. If you never come across Biafra Editors Television, please endeavor to do that. Juliet, it's been a long time. Where have you? We hope you are good. Shalom, my sister. We are here as always, every day, maybe 2 times, maybe once, depending on our time, because here we are doing over long hours job. That is the truth of the matter. But we must come in a day. Even if we miss in the midnight, we must surely come to do something. I want to prove to you today, countries that have their government is in exile, that they are in exile, make a declaration. They went to another country, like what Biafran government did on November 29, 2024. Many countries have done that. Many in Africa, in Europe, in Asia. They have done it in the past. So our own is not going to be a different option from what others has been done in the past. That is why it is not of a time. Then you will understand what the government has done for you, whether you like it or not. We are no longer begging anybody to come and support United States of Biafra as your own country. No. Because those many countries that have declared their country in exile, they have citizens like you. Some of them rejected, some of them accepted. When Finland make their own declaration, the red people of Finland refuse. The red people of Finland refuse. Because of they are rebel, does it stop Finland to be a country today? Because of you have IPOB, because of you have CRC, because of you have fallback bridge, because of Faceless Unite, because of all these fools that are fooling themselves in social media today, they are there. Does it stop when it's a time for Finland to get their own international recognition? Did it stop them from having their own recognition? I'm asking you. You that's claiming that you are insubordination, you are betrayer, can end USB government. They play. Continue fooling yourself. Continue doing more harm than good to yourself. You think you are destroying the government. You are destroying yourself when it is appropriate time for international recognition to come. We must surely got it. Because of your insubordination, because of your sabotage, because of what you think that you are claiming that you are doing, is never going to stop the due time of the recognition of Biafra as a country. And we are not going to continue in the mood of the IPOB with endless point. The endless point of everything is like when you send a child to school, that day he graduated in the 4 years or 5 or 6 years. That is the end time of that particular mission of going to school. This your IPOB organization, when is going to come to an end point? This year fallback, this year CRC, this year Faceless Unite, when is it going to be your end point? Or every OB is a boy, OB is in school. Is it what you want, what you wish yourself? If that is what you all wish yourself, I will never wish myself such a thing in my entire life. I want a mission with endless point. I don't want a mission that does not have a endless point. They see you as an unserious human being. The international global community see IPOB as an unserious group. They see them as those that are making noise. They see them as those that are causing civil unrest. For you who believe or who is fighting for a new country under agitation, when you are agitating to get to level of declaration, if you did not make a declaration, they see you as was somebody who is constituting nuisance in social media. You see, all these years of my agitation with IPOB, I'm just making noise. But now that we have made a declaration of Biafra, is the end of it. Please, 1 minute. We move. So, now that Biafra has been declared, we are declared again. That is when I have put an endless or end seeing me as an unserious human being. Stop seeing me as someone who is constituting nuisance in social media. See me as someone who is constituting a unusual unrest to the entire global community of the world. That is the area I want us to go today. And that is why we are here. To prove to you that Biafra government, that's Exile government, will not see us an end. It will not see us an end. And our own will not be a crime. Because many countries today has gone through that way. So I am here today to prove to you that people has got their fully independency or full recognition from having a government in exile. That is what the history that we are going to learn today. We are going to educate ourselves on many countries that are in exile and declare their country. India, Bangladesh, Israel, and many of them in Africa. Also, many countries in Africa. Few that we will dare to select few today and tell you, so you will know that if you are deceiving yourself, they are in exile now, come home now. You never follow the law. You never follow the history of forming a government in exile and why you have to form it in exile and things after that that you will continuously doing. That is what we are here today to let you know. So pay attention. After we have shared the program, please, as you join me, like and share the program, please. If it is your first time coming, subscribe on our page, please. The only way you can do that is by doing what? You will see a 3 dots in front of you on your phone. The way I'm pointing my hand on top of your screen. Click on that 3 dots, it will open. Then what will happen? Then you will see like and share. Subscribe, then you will like the program, share the program, then subscribe. Once you share the program, then subscribe on the YouTube page so you will know when we are live and we are direct. So, when it's going to this movement, the United States of Biafra government is the end point of all agitation. Yes, USB is the end game of the agitation. That is the USB. Declaration of the United States of Biafra is the end point of every agitation. Now, the world will see you as someone who is serious and someone who know what you want. They will not continuously seeing you as somebody who is constituting nuisance in social media. They will not see you as somebody who is usually give unusual unrest to people to rest. When people are resting, you will carry placards, you will start agitating. Sometimes the world will get tired of you with your over long time agitation without making a declaration. We know why we choose. So I want you to know, government in exile. Hey, you declare it in exile. You look at it and you are making mockery of yourself in social media. You never know something. What you don't know is bigger than you. And in my common language where we used to play, we used to say, who no go, no no. Who no go, no do what? You never know until you go there. That is our common language in my area that guys used to play. We used to joke around. So we must continue. We must. I want you to know that many countries has gone this process that Biafran people is undergoing today. This movement that we are into, many countries has done it in the past, and the way they got their own. When you are looking at the histories repeating and how things are following, our own is also going exactly the same way. That is why I thank our Deputy Prime Minister, Dr. Ngozi Arabeze, for standing up, giving me hope, and making Biafran people to have meaning in what they are doing. That they will no longer see us as those that are not serious, that those are making noise. Without a redeclaration of an independence of a country, you are making noise in social media. You are causing civil unrest to many countries where you are protesting in the world. You cannot be agitating for 19 Mregedem. You won't take all your time in your life. The only thing you know is how to agitate. No, it's not that way. I said what? It's not that way. It's not in that form at all. There is how it is. How it is how other countries has achieved it. It's also the same way we are going to achieve it. When you hear them talk about the Biafra government in exile, you will tell that no country has done that in the past, even in Africa. Even inside Africa, countries has done that in the past. So we are not the first, neither are we going to be the last. History must repeat. And when it repeats on your side, Do you know that the history has repeated on your side or on your own case? These are the areas we are here to let you know what to do. So please bear with me as we are sharing the program to those that ask us to let them know when we are live or what we are doing right now. So please, for Biafra government in exile or for Biafra to be declared in exile, do you think it's abomination? Do you see it as a serious issue? That is where the problem is. Because you know why you are seeing it in this way is because of you never think of it. A brother from Germany, you're welcome, Isaac. Thank you so much for being here. I want you to know the exact things that you needed to know at this time that we are into. For you to know that what we as the Biafran people are passing through or the template that we are following still remains the template of every international global community has passed through before they remain where they are today. Ogonna, you're welcome. I can see you. Thank you so much for being here. I can see you. That's my question is IPOD. When are you going to put to the world that you are serious? When is that? When are you going to prove to the world how serious you are? Or every year agitation, every year protest? No. You are making the world to look us lesser. That we have no direction. We have no mission. That our mission is missionless. Because when the mission cannot be accomplished, that mission has no head. That is how the world will see a long time agitation. They also said that this is a mere political movement. For how many years do you want Biafra to continuously seen as a mere political movement? That is why the USBG declaration and the government of it are the only option that ends. Now the world can be fully involved and also has their own rights by our declaration to talk about or to deliberate about Biafra or even to debate about Biafra, because we have a standing government that are effective, that are doing the needful that the world are looking for. That is why in South Africa they can be able to talk about Biafra. That is why in Adi Burkina Faso they can also talk about what? Biafra. These are the things that the time that we are into, we need to know. So without wasting of your time, we are going to dive into many countries that their governments are in exile before they got their official recognition and went back fully also to protect their borders and their country. So let us go in without wasting time. So as you are listening, so we are going to reaching it out step by step, so you will know. Let us start from the Europe first. Let us start from the Europe, so you will know that what the Biafran people did or what we are into right now, it is a fundamental right under the ambit of the international law that the government in exile, making a declaration of a country in exile is allowed, fully 100% allowed. Now listen as we move.
This is a specific question that distinguishes between two different historical situations. 1. Classical governments in exile, World War II. Governments that fled a country that was fully recognized and sovereign, but occupied by a foreign power, e.g., Nazi Germany. 2. Provisional governments in exile, independence. Political movements fighting for a new nation that declare independence from colonial/imperial
rule. We start from
while
the second one. Let us go back to
country.
the first one, please. Hold on. From here.
This is a question about the intersection of law, politics, and historical timing. Between a leader arrested before a formal declaration of independence and one arrested in a territory without a declaration, the leader arrested before a declaration generally has a better option for release under a political solution or pardon. The key difference lies in the political utility and legal reframing of the leader's past actions. 1. The leader arrested before declaration. This leader, Leader A, was arrested while fighting for the new country, but they were taken into custody before their movement made a formal, public claim of sovereignty. Why this is the better option? Political utility. The government that arrested the leader, the former sovereign state, gained significant political leverage by releasing them. Motive. The release can be offered as the primary incentive for the movement to enter negotiations, stop the armed struggle, and agree to a formal peace. The government can say, we release your figurehead if you agree.
Do you hear something here? After declaration of a new country, stop armed struggle. Once you made a declaration of a new country, you make this declaration and you have a document of the declaration. You have to stop what? Armed struggle. For those that are looking forward to vote. For you that are looking for vote to start giving orders, so Biafra can come outside and be doing anyhow. No. After declaration, under the international assay, stop armed struggle. Also, your leader will be released as a negotiation to give you a recognition that you have become a sovereign state after your declaration. Here, they told us about a leader, the two leaders. One, who was arrested and put in custody before declaration. That a declaration give him a big level average for him to be released. That declaration give him a route, give him a room for what? Negotiation. And also that why you have made this declaration, that this new country that being declared will stop armed struggle. It's part of the agreement. Once like the way Nigeria is holding Mazen Nankan right now, this our declaration that leads to recognition is a well strategy to release Mazen Nankan as a leader or as a president of a new country. Without declaration of a new country, you can't call him a president. But with the declaration of a new country, he becomes automatically a leader because he is fighting for that country that you made the declaration of it before he was taken out into custody. Now that he's into custody, what are you going to do? You fall back, you underground, you stop the movement. That is not a better option. When you stop, you are giving the hosting country that are holding him a leverage of seeing him as a common criminal, terrorism, insurgency, rebel. This is how they will see him and treat him like a common criminal. But when you make a declaration, all these laws, all these things dies off automatically. His status has been changed from a mere criminal to a president of a new declared country that are seeking for recognition. It's only in Nigeria that law is not working. That's the only what they want is that hatred they have on you is what they're going to use to judge you from the tribe you are coming from. That is what Nigeria represents. Nigeria represents a tribe you are coming from is how they will judge you. Do you get that clearly? So, as we are moving to refresh your mind on what we did yesterday, Easy Way, you're welcome. Thank you so much. It's been long you have called on our program because of you are busy. You understand it. So, when your leader is fighting for a new country and he was arrested before the declaration of a new country, they are telling us that the leader A was arrested while fighting for the new country, but they were taken into custody before the movement made a formal public claim of sovereignty, which is declaration of a new country. Why this declaration is a better option? Why that the declaration of a new country is a better option? Why that those who ask you to fall back? Why that those who kick against the declaration are evil to the leaders, to the Mazen Nankan, to Simon Ekpa, to all the Biafras who are in prison in all these years? That this declaration is what is going to be said. Why the declaration of a new country is the best option for a leader who was taken into custody before declaration of a new country. Listen, so you may know. Political unity. The government that arrested this leader, the former sovereign state, ex-Nigeria, gained significant political leverage by releasing him. Now that Biafra is being declared, is when Nigeria have fully the release Mazen and the can right now. The world will see them as one of the best countries in the world. If they release Mazen and the can, the entire continent of the international global community will see Nigeria as a responsible country. Keeping him is dragging Nigeria down. Keeping Mazen and the can is destroying Nigeria more and more because Nigeria has never become a country. Nigeria almost has already understand that being born as a Nigeria is what? A death sentence to every indigenous human being who was born there as a Nigerian. So Mazen and the can have everything right now. Nigeria also in a Biafra declaration give them better option. So the world will stop seeing them as a useless, a disgraced country in the entire community. A country of particular concern. All eyes on you because you are too bad. That is the word for you. I will just do this and move forward.
Agree to this deal. Confidence builder. The release is seen as a major, high-profile confidence-building measure needed to legitimize the entire political solution.
After the declaration of a new country, like our brother said here, you legitimize every group that are claiming fighting for Biafra. The declaration make it automatical words that every group that are fighting for Biafra has been legitimized. They are no longer into agitation. Rather, we are into gaining international recognition by three means: political, diplomatic, and the legal aspect of it. That is what they ask you to do as a criteria that will lead you to international recognition after you have met all the Montevideo Convention criteria of being a permanent population, divine territory, effective government, capacity to enter into relation with other countries. And they said a country will enter relation or sign treaties or agreements with other fellow countries, not a group, not individual. I hope you are listening. Let's continue.
Framing. The government can easily issue an amnesty or commutation because the leader's crimes were against the old sovereign state, which is now seeking a formal political separation. The pardon becomes a symbolic act of moving toward a new, shared future. Example, leaders of the Indian independence movement, including Mahatma Gandhi and
Example, leader like India's movement, Mahatma Gandhi. Are you hearing it? Are you hearing about it here? How Mahatma was being released. He was released after he was arrested with his second in command. And those he kept outside, continue pushing, continue fighting. Make a declaration of India as a country. Why that Mahatma and his second in command are in custody? Like Mazen and the Khan and Simon Abato are in custody. You, that the only woman who understands this criteria, this history, is Dr. Ngozi Arabeze, went ahead to do what? To make a declaration of a new country. Without declaration, you are nobody. You are just causing constitutional nuisance. You are making noise. You are considering civil unrest to countries that are on their own, having their time peacefully. But declaration makes that you are serious. Go and check.
Jawaharlal Nehru were frequently arrested and jailed before India's independence in 1947. They were consistently released as part of political negotiations, like the Quit India movement leaders being released in 1945 to allow negotiations to begin, because they were necessary for the political solution. 2. The leader arrested without declaration. This leader, Leader B, is fighting for a new country, but the movement has never made a formal declaration of independence, or the government does not acknowledge its existence. Why this is the
Listen to this. This leader, Leader B, is fighting for a new country. But the movement he's leading have never made a formal declaration What is the formal declaration? What Biafran people did on November 2024, November 29, making official declaration that Biafra has become a sovereign state by United State of Biafra declaration. That's what they're talking about here. Then, if that's because of we understand and who brought this mission to us, Mazen and the Kano. If Biafran government or the Congo government they claim that it's only Simon Eba, now it's happened to go to example of leader A and leader B. But our own case is like what happened in India between Maghandi and his second in command. Two of them was what? Inside. But those he kept outside, continuously pushing. His mandate getter, his surrogate, his COS, or whatever, or any name that leading them that time, did what? They went ahead to make a declaration of India in 1945. Why are you not following history? Why are you not checking how Mazen Nnamdi Kanu, the president of United States of Biafra, is going to be free forever and ever? Why are you not checking that? Why? Why are you not paying attention? Now, this leader of B, but the movement has never made a formal declaration of independence, or the government does not acknowledge its existence. Yes, when you never make a declaration, you never accepted yourself into existence of the world as a country. In the IPOB, in the fallback, in the CRC. Without declaration, the world are telling you that you have to do what? Acknowledge yourself. You have to do what? Acknowledge yourself. I am a country. Before other countries will acknowledge you. Not other country will come and tell you, oh, you are a country today. Like Nigeria, amalgamation of 1914. That is why Biafra movement is quite different from what happened in Nigeria amalgamation. Nigeria is that country that a white man stood up and told you, you are a country. You are a country. You are a country. Your name is Nigeria. We are in 1804 that have already, when they are planning, do you know that it took them a long year to plan, British to plan amalgamation of Nigeria with the Sokoto Caliphate, the flying jihadis. It took them time for them to achieve that. They plan it very well. They have a long time plan to execute this mission of killing of the indigenous people today, to conquer every human being, to be under them. These are pure facts and figures. So this leader, that his group did not make a declaration. Now look at how the world or the country that arrested him are seeing him, the level they put him into. Listen.
Certain option. Legal stigma. The leader is generally seen by the detaining state purely as an internal criminal, traitor, terrorist, or domestic insurgent. Because there is no formal declaration of statehood, even an unrecognized one, the government has less political incentive to treat the leader as a head of a potential sovereign entity. Political motivation for release is weak. The government has less to gain by releasing them, as it can claim that releasing them would only encourage other internal...
Listen carefully here. The leader is generally seen by the detained states as Nigeria, the way they see Mazen Nnamdi Kanu, if not for our declaration. The way they see what? Mazen Nnamdi Kanu. What is that your name? Abu... what something. I don't understand your language. I don't understand your comment. I don't understand who is... Well, am I preaching Igbo here? Or am I preaching about Biafra? I don't condole on my page useless comments. that are not into what I'm doing. If I see such comments again, what I do, you take your 2 minutes to write, I take a second to delete and block you. That is how I run my page. Because you will not come here, put word inside my mouth. Be one. So now, if this group that this leader is leading refuse, that is why I told that IPOB organization helped Nigeria to sentence Mazi Nnamdi Kanu in life imprisonment. The activities of IPOB. That is why I am not member of IPOB organization. Rather, I am indigenous person of Biafra. Today, British has started pushing what they did in 1967 to 1970. They have started it again. They have started writing on papers, writing that's their lies and deceits they brought out in 1967, 1970 that made Biafra, the international global community do not accept to recognize Biafra as a country. They have started pushing it again. They have started pushing that useless narrative, that's their hatred, that's their envy, that's their propaganda, that's their lies again. You must be up and doing to debunk those lies. So when a leader that is leading a group or fighting for freedom, also, he was taken in, and his group refused to make official declaration of a new country. What are those things stand for? And how are they going to see that leader? They said they are going to see him as what? As internal criminal, a traitor, terrorist, or domestic insurgency. Because there is no formal declaration of a stakehold. Because there is no formal declaration. If IPOB really wants Biafra to become a country, not those who claim they are in the head of IPOB or IPOB organization to use and make money, to use and get famous on their own. What they could have do is to rush to make a declaration, but they did not, because they don't know the road that leads to having a new country. They don't know how to form it. That's why they cannot be able to do it. Now that someone who has that criteria, someone who knows the road now comes in, instead of them to support, they are claiming they are IPOB. I am here from 2012. I am here from 19. Even if you are there, every time, every year, there is a change. There is a new thing that is coming up in this world that we are living. Is it not true? There is many new things that are coming up into the world that we are living right now. Every year, new changing. How could you say IPOB has no change? How is where you are from 2012 agitation till today is the same place you remain? And when you see those who pass class, you got envy and jealousness. Instead of you to study hard to pass class with your fellow men and women or students, then you relax on your own. When they passed out, you become envy and jealous. That is what IPOB did on mass on mass Simon Ekpa, the prime minister. That's what they did. Their envy comes up. Now, that's because of lack of a formal direction of a stakehold, even an unorganized one, and one could make a declaration in the IPOB, they will not recognize the IPOB as a country. They will not on the international global community. Let's listen very fast.
Or criminal acts or insurrections.
They see him as a criminal act, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. They see him as a terrorist. They charge him terrorism. They charge him sedition. Not manner of things they are going to charge him because of what? Lack of formal declaration of a new country. Are you following?
A release must be driven by external pressure, international human rights groups or other states, rather than by the necessity of a peace treaty with a defined new state. The struggle continues to be seen as internal. The lack of a declaration allows the detaining state to successfully frame the issue as a matter of internal security.
Lack of declaration is what gives Nigeria power under IPOB to sentence Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. The only hope of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu right now is Biafra declaration and what? Our international recognition is only the savior of you, I, and Mazi Nnamdi Kanu to be alive.
Making it harder for international actors to intervene and force a political solution. Conclusion. The power of intent. The act of making a declaration of independence, even if unrecognized, transforms the leader's fight from a domestic criminal conspiracy into an international political conflict concerning the right to self-determination. Feature. Leader A, arrested before declaration. Leader B, no declaration. Legal status. Former citizen fighting for a new state, easier to pardon as a political settlement. Internal criminal/insurgent, harder to justify release/pardon. Release motivation. High. Release is the key confidence-building measure needed to start the official, historic negotiations for separation. Low. Release is seen as purely political weakness, unless compelled by extreme external pressure. Best option. Political solution/amnesty. Pardon, commutation, requires more domestic leverage or human rights pressure. The timing of the arrest, before the declaration, sets the stage for the most favorable political outcome. The leader becomes the indispensable negotiating partner required to sign the peace deal.
Sorry for that. So you have the conclusion here and the things that it simply mean. So we need to man up, we need to rise up. Not that thing that we are thinking. Remove your hatred, remove your envy. The declaration is what serves you in the hands of Nigeria. The declaration makes the world to see you, that you are serious and you know what you want. The declaration is what will give Mazi Nnamdi Kanu opportunity of coming out as a leader that will change all the crime that Nigeria has labeled on him. That is the importance of what? The declaration. If you ever loved Mazi Nnamdi Kanu and you are not supporting United States of Biafra, you hate him. If you ever love Simon Ekpa and you are not supporting our declaration, you hate them. You don't want them to be alive. You are a hater of truth and the enemy of progress. That is who you are. Now, we are diving into countries that have used government in exile to achieve their freedom of their people. Listen.
This is a specific question that distinguishes between two different historical situations.
Listen carefully.
1. Classical governments in exile, World War II. Governments that fled a country that was fully recognized and sovereign, but occupied by a foreign power, e.g., Nazi Germany. 2. Provisional governments in exile, independence. Political movements fighting for a new nation that declare independence from colonial/imperial rule while operating from a foreign country. The second category directly answers your question. Here are the most prominent examples of countries that made a declaration of independence in exile, or established a recognized provisional government in exile, and later became fully sovereign nations. 1. Bangladesh, 1971. Declaration in exile. The Provisional Government of Bangladesh, also known as the Mujib-Nagar government, was formed in April 1971 and operated from Kolkata, India. This government was established to lead the struggle for independence from Pakistan, then known as East Pakistan. It was responsible for coordinating the liberation war. Result: following the war and its victory, the government in exile returned to the newly recognized country, and Bangladesh achieved full sovereignty in 1972.
Are you listening?
East Timor.
Timor-Leste,
1975 to 2002.
Listen.
Declaration in exile. After Portugal withdrew in 1975, the FRETILIN party declared the Democratic Republic of East Timor, Timor-Leste. Indonesia invaded days later. The leadership and government then operated in exile for decades. The fight. For over 25 years, the political and diplomatic struggle was maintained by leaders operating abroad, in Lisbon and other locations, while resistance continued internally. Result: after a UN-sponsored referendum and further international pressure, East Timor achieved full independence and UN recognition in 2002. 3. The Baltic states, Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia. While their independence was not declared in exile, their governments in exile, GIEs, were critical to their eventual re-sovereignty. The situation: After being illegally annexed by the Soviet Union in 1940, these countries maintained diplomatic representations and governments in exile in Western capitals, like Washington, D.C. and London, throughout the entire Soviet occupation, 1940-1991. The fight. These GIEs did not control territory, but successfully maintained the legal fiction that their sovereignty had never ceased. Result. When the Soviet Union collapsed, these historical GIEs, or their diplomatic principles, were instrumental in ensuring the three states were recognized as restoring their original sovereignty, rather than creating entirely new states. They are now three fully recognized countries. Important distinction: governments in exile versus independence movements. You will also frequently see historical mentions of governments in exile from World War II, such as Polish government in exile, London; Norwegian government in exile, London; Dutch government in exile, London. These are slightly different. They were already the fully recognized governments of sovereign nations that had been temporarily occupied by Germany. They did not declare a new country, but rather maintained the legal continuity of an existing country until liberation. They all returned to their full status after the war.
I hope you listen. Those that they are in exile and make a declaration of their country, declare a full country, and after some years, they got their international recognition, become a full country. This BIIG, it did not see us start. We are not the first that have used it. Obato Obie is not the first person. Forget one I will see. Forget one and Bigi. Forget one Gianna Mashagare. You are not the first person. Many people use it to do what? To make a declaration of their new country and with the documents, and they become a sovereign state today. Listen again.
This is a specific question that distinguishes between two different historical situations. 1. Classical governments in exile, World War II. Governments that fled a country that was fully recognized and sovereign, but occupied by a foreign power, e.g., Nazi Germany. 2. Provisional governments in exile, independence. Political movements fighting for a new nation that declare independence from colonial/imperial rule while operating from a foreign country. The second category directly answers your question. Here are the most prominent examples of countries that made a declaration of independence in exile, or established a recognized provisional government in exile, and later became fully sovereign nations. 1. Bangladesh, 1971. Declaration in exile. The Provisional Government of Bangladesh, also known as the Mujib-Nagar government, was formed in April 1971 and operated from Kolkata, India. The fight. This government was established to lead the struggle for independence from Pakistan, then known as East Pakistan. It was responsible for coordinating the liberation war. Result. Following the war and its victory, the government in exile returned to the newly recognized country, and Bangladesh achieved full sovereignty in 1972. 2. East Timor, Timor-Leste, 1975 to 2002. Declaration in exile. After Portugal withdrew in 1975, the FRETILIN party declared the Democratic Republic of East Timor, Timor-Leste. Indonesia invaded days later. The leadership and government then operated in exile for decades. The fight. For over 25 years, the political and diplomatic struggle was maintained by leaders operating abroad, in Lisbon and other locations, while resistance continued internally. Result. After a UN-sponsored referendum and further international pressure, East Timor achieved full independence and UN recognition in 2002. 3. The Baltic states, Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia. While their independence was not declared in exile, their governments in exile, GIEs, were critical to their eventual re-sovereignty. The situation. After being illegally annexed by the Soviet Union in 1940, these countries maintained diplomatic representations and governments in exile in Western capitals, like Washington, D.C. and London, throughout the entire Soviet occupation, 1940-1991. The fight. These GIEs did not control territory, but successfully maintained the legal fiction that their sovereignty had never ceased. Result. When the Soviet Union collapsed, these historical GIEs, or their diplomatic principles, were instrumental in ensuring the three states were recognized as restoring their original sovereignty, rather than creating entirely new states. They are now three fully recognized countries. Important distinction: governments in exile versus independence movements. You will also frequently see historical mentions of governments in exile from World War II, such as Polish government in exile, London. Norwegian government in exile,
London.
Dutch government in exile,
London. Are you hearing it?
These are slightly different. They were already the fully
One
recognized
Nigeria list. Are you
governments of
hearing
sovereign
it?
nations that had been temporarily
IPOB
occupied by
organization.
Germany. They did not declare a new country, but rather maintained the legal continuity of an existing country until liberation. They all returned to their full status after the war.
There is things that are there. We never come to Africa. We are discussing about Europe. The country that made the declaration as government in exile. And they are in the government in exile, declare their country and work for their people until they achieve recognition. You know, when we talk about recognition, I don't know what we are thinking about it and how you are seeing it. And you who believe in one Nigeria, you will think that what we are doing, that nobody has done it before. Look at the history here. The history of countries that their government are in, they use exile, they use BRIG, government in exile, to make a declaration of their country and work for their people until they achieve their recognition. And also those that refuse to make a declaration, they go into liberation war. They use that government in exile, go into liberation war. Those that refuse to make a declaration, go into liberation war. Those that make a declaration, wait for recognition, and they got recognition. That's why they are telling you. Number one, country like India. Number two, Bangladesh. These are those that form, they have exile governments. They are in exile to declare India. They are in exile to declare Bangladesh. In 1945, the declaration of India was in exile. Where? London. Now, the declaration of the Bangladesh was where? In India. Are you seeing it? You think that this thing that, oh, government in exile, how could you be in exile and declare a country? Because you refuse to get into the truth and know the truth. You refuse to check the histories and find out. We are not only Biafran people are not the first person. Simon Ekpa is not the first person. He is standing on the existing protocol of those that have achieved it through that way. And you see, when you are going in exile and make a declaration, you have 50-50 chances of very fast international recognition instead of going into liberation war with Nigeria. That many people may buy along the line. That is going to buy many people. There is things that you need to know on your own. Government in exile. Hey, we declared Biafra in exile. Dude, now do you see how many countries that have declared their own? They give you an example of, they said number one, that fit on the criteria of the Biafran people. Bangladesh 1971 was declared in Germany. Sorry, was declared in India. Their leader is who? Mujibur Rahman is their leader. Was formed in 1971 and operate from India. Operate from where? India. Like the Wabato will be a form bridge government in exile. That is how people of Bangladesh formed their own in the land of India, in the country of India. The fight, the government was established to lead the struggle for the independence of Pakistan, than known as in Eastern Pakistan, was responsible for conducting the liberation war. Result, following the war and its victories, the government in exile returned to the newly recognized country. The government in exile was newly secured their victory. There was newly recognized country, and the Bangladesh achieved fully sovereignty in 1972. It took the maximum 1 year, and But you IPOB, 13 good years, 15 good years, in a protest, in underground, you're the information and the Kano. Don't you hear that when Maghandi and his men his second man was arrested, that people he kept aside continuously pushing the fight. He took them. They made this on 1949. Then 1947, they got the recognition. India became a fully sovereign state. They are in exile in London, India. Bangladesh was in India, and India allowed them, support them, not this useless Finland that bribe will kill them. They want money from Biafran land. They want oil. The corrupt, wicked man called as a stub, who's supposed to play the route that India play in Bangladesh for Bangladesh people. Finland supposed to play that route for us, but because of they want to make a better country by bribe, working with a terrorist country to arrest our prime minister. That is all he can ever achieved. Let us continue. Now you have heard about who? About Bangladesh and India. Let's continue. Let us continue.
This is a specific question that distinguishes between two different historical situations. 1. Classical governments in exile, World War II. Governments that fled a country that was fully recognized and sovereign, but occupied by a foreign power, e.g., Nazi Germany. 2. Provisional governments in exile, independence. Political movements fighting for a new nation that declare independence from colonial/imperial rule while operating from a foreign country. The second category directly answers your question. Here are the most prominent examples of countries that made a declaration of independence in exile, or established a recognized provisional government in exile, and later became fully sovereign nations. 1. Bangladesh, 1971. Declaration in exile. The Provisional Government of Bangladesh, also known as the Mujib-Nagar government, was formed in April 1971 and operated from Kolkata, India. The fight. This government was established to lead the struggle for independence from Pakistan, then known as East Pakistan. It was responsible for coordinating the liberation war. Result. Following the war and its victory, the government in exile returned to the newly recognized country, and Bangladesh achieved full sovereignty in 1972.
They are in exile, even went to war with Pakistan. And we said, no, we don't want to go to war with Nigeria. We want peaceful exit from Nigeria. And you are still talking.
2. East Timor, Timor-Leste, 1975 to 2002.
It takes East Timor from 1975 to 2002. How many years? With the government in exile, how many good years? After the declaration of East Timor in 1975 until 2002, they will be able to get recognition as a country.
Declaration in exile. After Portugal withdrew in 1975,
East Timor gets what? Their freedom from hands of who? Portugal. Every country have those that colonize them, but in Nigeria it never stops.
The FRETILIN party declared the Democratic Republic of East Timor, Timor-Leste. Indonesia invaded days later. The leadership and government then operated in exile for decades.
They operate from exile what? In decades. And this East Timor is part of where? Indonesia. After they have stayed in Portugal to make a declaration of their government in exile, their new country, what happened? Indonesia invades East Timor. They fight. Like what Nigeria is doing to Biafra land right now. What Nigeria is doing is they are invading Biafran territory. You don't know? By putting more tankers everywhere. They are invading where? Biafra land. The same thing that Indonesia did in 1975. Please, can you help me do this calculation? From 1975 to 2002. Is it how many years? Before East Timor, we got fully recognition. And they're continuously pushing. They're continuously protecting their border, their territory, their citizens, and doing what they're supposed to do as a government of the people. Please, as you join us, please like and share the program. Yes, 27 years. It takes East Timor 27 years for them to get recognition. They made the declaration of government, their government in exile, where? In Portugal, against Indonesia. The same way that Biafran people have government in exile that make a declaration of the United States of Biafra as a country on November 29, 2024. That this November, past November, is maximum 1 year. Check off the 27 years and just 1 year. East Timor, they are in Portugal when they declare East Timor as a country. India are where? In London when they declared India as a country. Their government. Bangladesh are where? In India declared their own as a country. So we are not the first people. Biafra government is not the first people that make a declaration in exile. Now we are talking about Europe. We are talking about what? Europe. We never even come to Africa. We never come to Africa. There is a role for you to have a new country. Why did the people of India government in exile stay in London to declare their own? Why? Why did Bangladesh went to India to make a declaration? Why East Timor from Indonesia that want to exit Indonesia went to Portugal to make their own declaration? Go and ask them before you come and ask me, fool. You will take your time to write garbage. I take 1 second to delete you and block you. Nigeria is not a fraud by a white man. You are one Nigeria is a fraud by a white man. And in the history, the most shameless country in the world is Nigeria. That they don't have a history. I hope you hear how India fought and got to their country. How Bangladesh fought and got to their country. How East Timor fought Indonesia to go to their country. You, who did you fight? Look at your name, 419 name. Look at me, 19011. Is it a name? That is how you were fraud. Go choose. My senior comrade, grabbing from here. That is how disgraced people are. And look at what is happening around you today. Biafra, we the indigenous accepted that we want Biafra. Not by a white man to come and give me a name that I will answer. Why I can never give a white man name to answer? One mug. Continue commenting nonsense. Let me allow you to comment more nonsense. You will see how I take a second to delete it and take a second, 7 seconds to block you. Nonsense. You can't listen to history. Oh, the IGK declared Biafra in exile. It should not say anyone may go there before. Do you think that we are only the one that had made it before? Look at it here now. India, Bangladesh, East Timor. It never ends though. Let us continue. We are talking about Europe. We will come to Africa. One move.
The fight. For over 25 years, the political and diplomatic struggle was maintained by leaders operating abroad, in Lisbon and other locations.
They are operating from where? Abroad.
After a UN-sponsored...
They are operating from where? Abroad. That is meaning of government in exile. You operate from abroad, from another country. You do your operation there. That is from where you operate to govern your area, to seek for recognition. And once you get it, you come back fully to your country. Because you don't want to go into war. We don't want to go into war with Nigeria. We want peaceful exit from Nigeria. That is why we make a declaration of the United States of Biafra. That is why. That is why Nigeria shut down history in school. It's now that I begin to understand why in my own time, why did when I was in JS1, Nigeria shut down history in school? Why? They remove it. It's because of all this. Because they don't want you to know your history. They don't want you to know who you are. They never want you to know. That is why they shut down history in school. They move it. And they think that it will end there. But the revival is the case. The phone has made history easy. Internet is there. That is why we are bringing out to you. And when we bring this our bitter truth to you, you get angry. Because you never know it. And you will never know it until you hear it from the real people of Biafran people who believe in who believe to the core history of who we are. They fight for good 25 years. Even also the Istimo Exile government later moved from Istimo to Lebanon. You could imagine when Portugal cannot be able to hold them anymore, they walk away from there. That is why I said that Finland could have told Obatobia, we don't want to say you are doing it, please move away from us, instead of arresting him. Portugal never arrested any leader of the Istimo. Rather, they asked them to leave, to go into another country. They went to where? Lebanon. They stayed there, they fight. They continue pushing until they got their full recognition, become a full country, because recognition gives you a fully country. You will not learn history, you will not like to hear the truth. Until Istimo fought from Lebanon, they continue fighting until 2002 that UN organized them fully as a country. And their people are living there in the Istimo, part of Indonesia. Let's continue.
Referendum and further international pressure, East Timor achieved full independence and UN recognition in 2002.
Do you hear that?
The Baltic states, Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia.
Do you hear another one? Lithuania, Latvia, and Estonia. All this Estonia, all this was what? They are countries that are in exile. They use what? They use Exile IGGIE as the organization they use of their government to fight for their people to get recognition. They made their declaration, and it helps them to seek international recognition by UN membership.
While their independence was not declared in exile, their governments in exile, GIEs, were critical to their eventual re-sovereignty. The situation...
After the hard beginning, the government in exile is what? Eventually a sovereignty. A government in exile is what? In that exile where they are eventually what? A sovereignty.
After being illegally annexed by the Soviet Union in 1940, these countries maintained diplomatic representations and governments in exile in Western capitals, like Washington, D.C. and London, throughout the entire Soviet occupation, 1940 minus 1,999 firsts.
Are you hearing it? They continue maintaining what? After the declaration in exile government, they continue maintaining diplomatic movement. Where, like Washington, D.C., there is something about America. That is where freedom comes from. That is where recognition comes from. UN, Washington, D.C. That is where Biafra governments are right now, with their congressmen, with their lobby. Biafra matter is on the table, whether you like it or not. Look at the name you used to come and talk about, comment in my comment section. Why can't you use your full name now so we know you in future? If you're not a fraud human being, if you're not ashamed of yourself, look at them, look at them, you answer. They continue, and another place, London. Why Biafra cannot be granted from London is this particular London that blocked our official international recognition in 1970 because of they said that they are not going to negotiate oil with Biafran people, that they are too intelligent, they are too wise. London blocked our recognition totally. They use this. You see this London? They are the one. They stop Canada. They stop Sweden. They stop Norway. They stop Russia. They stop America. They stop France. All these countries, they come for them to intervene into Biafra and ask ceasefire. And Britain used London to tell them, no, it's an internal affair of Nigeria. That is why I first read to you after the declaration, you become internal affair of Nigeria. No international country body will come to talk about you for you to be a country until you make official declaration of your country. That is how it is. There is no other way. They fought until what? London, throughout the entire Soviet occupation, 1940 minus 1990 minus 1991, everything happens. The fight continues. Listen.
The fight. These GIEs did not control territory, but successfully maintained the legal fiction that their sovereignty had never ceased.
They did not what? There is things that you see. You know, when we say, come back now, come and prove you. They said what? That they're going to maintain sovereignty of using diplomatic to get what? The international recognition. Yes, go choose. It's never fully destroyed. It's only destroyed when all of them rise up to look for Duduwa, like what you and I is doing today. So can you see that Simon Eba understand the movement of having a new country? He formed Biafra government in exile, like other countries in the world, India, Bangladesh, East Timor, not who else again, and the Lithuania. All these are people that have exile governments, and from there they are using their sovereignty of their declaration to seek for international recognition. Where? Washington, D.C.
When the Soviet Union collapsed, these historical GIEs, or their diplomatic principles, were instrumental in ensuring the three states were recognized as restoring their original sovereignty, rather than creating entirely new states. They are now three fully recognized countries. Important distinction: governments in exile versus independence movements. You will also frequently see historical mentions of governments in exile from World War II, such as Polish government in exile, London; Norwegian government in exile, London; Dutch government in exile, London.
Are you hearing it? Now, it's become how many? If you count these three down right now, it becomes what? It becomes 10. Polish government in exile, they are declared in London. Norwegian government in nowhere in exile, they declare it where? In London. Dutch, where? In London. All are in what? In exile, but they use London as where? You see this London because of we are black people, because of we have oil. That is why UK is against Biafra. Nothing more than that. That is why. But look at the countries that come into them. From them, they sit down comfortably and got their own recognition. They help them. They accommodated them. They are there, formed their government in exile. It's only Finland in the history of countries formed government in exile that the leader was arrested. It's only Finland that arrested a leader of a government in exile. Except Finland in the history. Nobody has done that before. For you to see how corrupt and stuff that trick man, that evil man is. If you count wickedness of the Britain, UK, London, you count Finland. Finland is very wicked, very heartless. They hate black color too much. They hate us, Biafran people, because of our own mineral resources. That is why their envy, their jealousness, their hatred is too much on the Biafran people. That is why they colluded with Finland and Nigeria to arrest our prime minister. First time ever, a freedom fighter under a government in exile was arrested. That is the record that Finland break. They have teach people in this 21st century that if somebody from government in exile fighting for a new country, they have to arrest him, put him in dungeon, put him in prison. Imagine Finland, that their forefather was useful to us when we are fighting against Nigeria in 1970 to 1970. Had I known Do we know that it will come? Look at those that formed government in exile. These three countries they mentioned here, all of them are in London. Why did London accepted them? And they did not accept Biafra? Because Norway did not have oil. Now it's something that they want. Or maybe because of they are white. Also what? Polish country did not have it. Maybe that is why. Dutch did not have it. Maybe that is why, because they are white. But we, they refuse our own. They even block our own recognition. Now we have formed a government in exile. They seek on join Nigeria to fight and help Finland to arrest our Prime Minister Simon Onebanjok. Exile government. We are not the first people. And we are not going to be the last. Let's continue.
These are slightly different. They were already the fully recognized governments of sovereign nations that had been temporarily occupied by Germany. They did not declare a new country, but rather maintained the legal continuity of an existing country until liberation. They all returned to their full status after the war.
Do you hear that? Biafra, we did not declare a new country, if you don't know. We only maintain criteria of the old one by just trying to put some spices on it, and we call it what? United States of Biafra. That's why we told that it's re-declared. We made a re-declared. We reform it in this 21st century. What we have to use to get what we want. Ikeno Jimba, you are welcome. Thank you so much for coming. Good afternoon from here. Thanks so much for your prayer. Amen. Now, you have got those in the Europe. In Europe, those that form exile governments, you need to get your freedom. Let me count it for you. In Europe, before we come to Africa. In Europe, Bangladesh, India, 2. Here, East Timor, 3. And who again? Lithuania, 4. Levante, 5. These are the countries that have government in exile. Then, going further, you have what? You have Norway. You have Polish government. You have what? Dutch. How many? Do you count with me? In only all these that we counted right now, these few that we counted, Germany is the one occupying the territory that makes them to go into exile. They all went into London. They are what? Sorry, they are 8 countries that they are in exile in the history of having countries or governments in exile. You think our own is quite different. You think that we have done what nobody has done in the past. History of freedom fighter must repeat, whether I like it or not. Now, let us play it without saying a word. After that, then we will go into Africa. If you see the social media in as one Nigeria. One Nigeria that missed a death sentence. Please record here with your phone. Record it. So you need to tell them that they don't know. That is why Nigeria removed history. So we will know nothing about history of the world and how countries are being created in the world and how they use government in exile to achieve countries in the world. Listen.
This is a specific question that distinguishes between 2 different historical situations. 1. Classical governments in exile, World War II. Governments that fled a country that was fully recognized and sovereign, but occupied by a foreign power, e.g., Nazi Germany. 2. Provisional governments in exile, independence. Political movements fighting for a new nation that declare independence from colonial/imperial rule while operating from a foreign country. The second category directly answers your question. Here are the most prominent examples of countries that made a declaration of independence in exile, or established a recognized provisional government in exile, and later became fully sovereign nations. 1. Bangladesh, 1971. Declaration in exile. The provisional government of...
We come here with facts and figures in this page. We are not doing propaganda here. We are bringing you the history. We are bringing you that bitter truth that you don't want to hear. You who is a one Nigeria, you who is IPOB member, you who is fallback, you who is a Randosh, did not believe in United States of Biafra were declared. Countries have done that in the past.
Bangladesh,
John,
also known as the Mujib Nagar government, was formed in April 1971 and operated from Kolkata, India. The fight. This government was established to lead the struggle for independence from Pakistan, then known as East Pakistan. It was responsible for coordinating the liberation war. Result. Following the war and its victory, the government in exile returned to the newly recognized country, and Bangladesh achieved full sovereignty in 1972. 2. East Timor, Timor-Leste, 1975 to 2002. Declaration in exile. After Portugal withdrew in 1975, the FRETILIN party declared the Democratic Republic of East Timor, Timor-Leste. Indonesia invaded days later. The leadership and government then operated in exile for decades. The fight. For over 25 years, the political and diplomatic struggle was maintained by leaders operating abroad, in Lisbon and other locations, while resistance continued internally. Result. After a UN-sponsored referendum and further international pressure, East Timor achieved full independence and UN recognition in 2002. 3. The Baltic states, Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia. While their independence was not declared in exile, their governments in exile, GIEs, were critical to their eventual re-sovereignty. The situation. After being illegally annexed by the Soviet Union in 1940, these countries maintained diplomatic representations and governments in exile in Western capitals, like Washington, D.C. and London, throughout the entire Soviet occupation, 1940–1990 firsts. The fight. These GIEs did not control territory, but successfully maintained the legal fiction that their sovereignty had never ceased. Result. When the Soviet Union collapsed, these historical GIEs, or their diplomatic principles, were instrumental in ensuring
that this GIE has never controlled territory. But once they make a declaration, they now start controlling territory. Without the declaration, that's what I told you, that our declaration give us a document to protect our territory and also to submit it under the international global community that Biafra has been re-declared as a country. Do you hear? Without declaration, you control no territory. But once you have made a declaration of the new country, you have from that day become a sovereign state, and the world sees you as someone who are controlling your territory because of that particular declaration.
And independence movements have operated with governments or provisional governments in exile, especially during periods of colonial rule, occupation, or civil conflict. These governments in exile, GIEs, fall into two main categories.
Yes, then.
1. Classical government in exile, sovereign state under occupation. The most prominent example of a fully recognized African state with a classical government in exile is Ethiopia, 1936 to 1941.
Hey, sorry, I have even jumped on Africa issues. Hey, Jesus, my hand is running very fast this morning. I hope you have heard it clearly. Countries in Europe, how they got their independence by having government in exile and stay in exile, make a declaration of their new country. I hope it is clear. For those, that's why I told you, record this for a purpose. Keep it for yourself. So when they come, you just give it to them. Let them go and search and find out that the history is there already. The constitutions, the criteria, the template that you must follow is already there. This Obato Simon studied all these things very well. That is why when he was piloting the affairs of this movement, everything is easy and in the open. I told you that the template of Biafra recognition or Biafra becoming a country for us to reactivate ourselves back. That is not in the secret, it's in the open. He always says that he doesn't have a secret movement for him to get Biafra. Everything he does is come outside social media and lets you know. So why is he doing that? For you, who is a one Nigeria, to go and research. And today the Biafra has been declared and you did not accepted it. You on your own. You can never stop us from getting recognition. Because we have met that particular legal criteria of the international global community, UN Charter, Montevideo Convention, Geneva Convention, Vienna Convention. All these are 4 bodies law that controls the world when it's come to having a new country. We'll go back to fully in Africa. Listen.
Following the invasion and occupation of the country by fascist Italy, Emperor Haile Selassie I established a government in exile in London. Goal: to maintain the legal continuity of the Ethiopian Empire and rally international support against the Italian occupation. Result: with Allied support during World War II, the emperor returned and Ethiopia's sovereignty was restored. Ethiopia is one of only 2 African nations, along with Liberia, that largely avoided full European colonization. 2. Liberation movements, operating in exile, fighting for a new state. Many African liberation movements established formal political structures in neighboring countries or international capitals, which effectively functioned as governments in exile, gaining international recognition from bodies like the Organization of African Unity, OAU. Namibia, SWAPO, the Southwest Africa People's Organization, SWAPO, which fought for independence from South African administration, was widely recognized as the official liberation movement and formed a government in exile that operated mainly from Zambia and Tanzania. Result: SWAPO led the country to independence in 1990, and its leader, Sam Nujoma, became the first president. Angola, GRAE, FNLA. During the Angolan War of Independence against Portugal, the National Liberation Front of Angola, FNLA, formed the Revolutionary Government of Angola in Exile, GRAE, in Leopoldville, now Kinshasa, Congo, DRC, in 1962. Note: while initially recognized by the OAU, support later fractured among rival liberation movements, MPLA, UNITA, FNLA, before the final declaration of independence in 1975. South Africa, ANC in exile. While the ANC did not form a formal government in exile, its armed wing, Umkhonto weSizwe, or MK, and the entire political leadership operated from outside the country, largely Zambia, Tanzania, and later London, for decades after being banned. They were recognized as the legitimate voice of the oppressed people. Contemporary examples: unrecognized. In more recent times, various opposition and secessionist movements have declared governments in exile, though they lack international recognition as sovereign states.
Are you hearing it?
Mali. Opposition politicians announced the formation of a transitional government in exile in 2024 following military coups. Biafra, Nigeria. The Biafra Republic government in exile, BRGIE, maintains a political structure operating outside Nigeria to push for secession. Ambazonia, Cameroon. Secessionist movements fighting for an independent Ambazonia, English-speaking region, have established political councils and governments in exile. This video discusses African leaders who are exiled, which is a related but slightly different aspect of the theme of governance from abroad. 10 African presidents who were overthrown and exiled.
Do you hear it here? 10 African countries was being declared from exile. 10. And inside these 10, Ambazonia and Biafra are never been included because we have never got our fully recognition. Please, if you're not subscribed for the page, just touch on this link you are seeing there. Then it will take you to the page so you can be able to subscribe and know when we are live, so you can be able to join us into the movement. To know, this is what we are doing here. Please, in case you want to call, our line is open. The number +973360513337. In case if you want to join us on this program today, that is number to call. Repeat again, +973360513337. I will be playing this Africa again to you. For those who are Nigeria list, for those IPO organization. Some of you are in this country that are being mentioned here. Some of you are in this country that are being mentioned here. Some of you are there.
Yes, several African countries and independence movements have operated with governments or provisional governments in exile, especially during periods of colonial rule, occupation, or civil conflict. These governments in exile, GIEs, fall into 2 main categories. 1. Classical government in exile, sovereign state under occupation. The most prominent example of a fully recognized African state with a classical government in exile is Ethiopia, 1936 to 1941. Following the invasion and occupation of the country by fascist Italy, Emperor Haile Selassie I established a government in exile in London. Goal: to maintain the legal continuity of the Ethiopian Empire and rally international support against the Italian occupation. Result: with Allied support during World War II, the emperor returned, and Ethiopia's sovereignty was restored. Ethiopia is one of only 2 African nations, along with Liberia, that largely avoided full European colonization. 2. Liberation movements. Operating in exile, fighting for a new state. Many African liberation movements established formal political structures in neighboring countries or international capitals, which effectively functioned as governments in exile, gaining international recognition from bodies like the Organization of African Unity, OAU. Namibia, SWAPO, the Southwest Africa People's Organization, SWAPO, which fought for independence from South African administration, was widely recognized as the official liberation movement and formed a government in exile that operated mainly from Zambia and Tanzania. Result: SWAPO led the country to independence in 1990, and its leader, Sam Nujoma, became the first president. Angola, GRAE, FNLA. During the Angolan War of Independence against Portugal, the National Liberation Front of Angola, FNLA, formed the Revolutionary Government of Angola in Exile, GRAE, in Leopoldville, now Kinshasa, Congo, DRC, in 1962. Note: while initially recognized by the OAU, support later fractured among rival liberation movements, MPLA, UNITA, FNLA, before the final Declaration of Independence in 1975. South Africa, ANC in exile. While the ANC did not form a formal government in exile, its armed wing, Umkhonto weSizwe or MK, and the entire political leadership operated from outside the country, largely Zambia, Tanzania, and later London, for decades after being banned. They were recognized as the legitimate voice of the oppressed people. Contemporary examples: unrecognized. In more recent times, various opposition and secessionist movements have declared governments in exile, though they lack international recognition as sovereign states. Mali. Opposition politicians announced the formation of a transitional government in exile in 2024 following military coups. Biafra, Nigeria. The Biafra Republic government in exile, BRGIE, maintains a political
not
structure
IPOB
operating outside
organization.
Nigeria to push for secession. Ambazonia, Cameroon. Secessionist movements fighting for an independent Ambazonia, English-speaking region, have established political councils and governments in exile. This video discusses African leaders who are exiled, which is a related but slightly different aspect of the theme of governance from abroad. 10 African presidents who were overthrown and exiled.
I'm going to play for the last time, for you to hear it clearly, before we go into explanation.
Yes, several African countries and independence movements have operated with governments or provisional governments in exile, especially during periods of colonial rule, occupation, or civil conflict. These governments in exile, GIEs, fall into 2 main categories. 1. Classical government in exile, sovereign state under occupation. The most prominent example of a fully recognized African state with a classical government in exile is Ethiopia, 1936 to 1941. Following the invasion and occupation of the country by fascist Italy, Emperor Haile Selassie I established a government in exile in London. Goal: to maintain the legal continuity of the Ethiopian Empire and rally international support against the Italian occupation. Result: with Allied support during World War II, the emperor returned, and Ethiopia's sovereignty was restored. Ethiopia is one of only 2 African nations, along with Liberia, that largely avoided full European colonization. 2. Liberation movements. Operating in exile, fighting for a new state. Many African liberation movements established formal political structures in neighboring countries or international capitals, which effectively functioned as governments in exile, gaining international recognition from bodies like the Organization of African Unity, OAU. Namibia, SWAPO, the Southwest Africa People's Organization, SWAPO, which fought for independence from South African administration, was widely recognized as the official liberation movement and formed a government in exile that operated mainly from Zambia and Tanzania. Result: SWAPO led the country to independence in 1990, and its leader, Sam Nujoma, became the first president. Angola, GRAE, FNLA. During the Angolan War of Independence against Portugal, the National Liberation Front of Angola, FNLA, formed the Revolutionary Government of Angola in Exile, GRAE, in Leopoldville, now Kinshasa, Congo, DRC, in 1962. Note: While initially recognized by the OAU, support later fractured among rival liberation movements, MPLA, UNITA, FNLA, before the final Declaration of Independence in 1975. South Africa, ANC in exile. While the ANC did not form a formal government in exile, its armed wing, Umkhonto we Sizwe, or MK, and the entire political leadership operated from outside the country, largely Zambia, Tanzania, and later London, for decades after being banned. They were recognized as the legitimate voice of the oppressed people. Contemporary examples: unrecognized. In more recent times, various opposition and secessionist movements have declared governments in exile, though they lack international recognition as sovereign states. Mali. Opposition politicians announced the formation of a transitional government in exile in 2024 following military coups. Biafra, Nigeria. The Biafra Republic government in exile, BRGIE, maintains a political structure operating outside Nigeria to push for secession. Ambazonia, Cameroon. Secessionist movements fighting for an independent Ambazonia, English-speaking region, have established political councils and governments in exile. This video discusses African leaders who were exiled, which is a related but slightly different aspect of the theme of governance from abroad. 10 African presidents who were overthrown and exiled.
I hope you got it clearly. IPOB is not included here. They are telling you about Biafra government in exile that's making the declaration of a new country. It's gradually step. We are there. And you are misleading yourself. You use envy, jealousness, trying to destroy yourself. You have it over 10 countries in Africa was being declared in exile. Even in the exile including even South Africa. They are in Africa also. Even there is those in Africa, they're part of an African country. Like what Mazen Khan wanted to do from Kenya. And the so-called people of IPOB betrayed him. The so-called people of IPOB betrayed him and pulled him out. Many countries in Africa was being declared in exile. When you are a Namibia man, you are in Congo, you are in exile. When you are Congo man, you are in Ethiopia. You are what? You are in exile. The first country in the world that made a declaration of a new government in exile is Ethiopia. In 1937, they made it in exile. Look at it here. And when Biafran people make a declaration of their new country and their government, oh, you are in exile, who does that? Come and see those have done it in the past. And today, are there not all countries? Are there not countries today? Are there not all countries today? It's only you that you claim one Nigeria, that your documents are about amalgamation. Look at how the other people's history are being written, how they fought war. Which one did you fight? One Nigeria, one Mugu. In Azza, one Nigeria. A name a white man being given to. Look at how all these countries in exile fought and defend their own and give themselves name they want. They fought colonial masters. Who did you fight when British come? It's not able to fight them. You work on them. They give you a name. You claim, oh, one Nigeria. You never see something. You claim one Nigeria. Look at this. How many countries in Nigeria they are in exile? We are going to be preaching this particular message. So you, who a Biafran, who refuse to succumb, who refuse to support United of Biafra, we know that you are doing yourself. That the template we are passing, those asking for the template, use the template that they are created here. Today, Biafra government in exile has entered in the history. IPOB organization is in the history. IPOB organization, now they are mentioning those in exile to have their country, to seek for international recognition after the declaration. IPOB is IPOB of a country. You are IPOB of a country. You're not even in the line. The IPOB, one fight. Pure typical male political party with making noise in social media. That is who the world addresses you. You are causing civil unrest. Emmanuel, I hope you listen to this program. You ask me about, you are the one that makes me to go and research about countries that in the world that make the creation of their country in exile. Look at it here. Look at it here. In Europe, in Africa, there is. In Europe, 8. In Africa, 10. 10 in Africa was being declared from exile. Their government is in exile. How could you declare a country in exile? Where can you go? One band say, do you know the history? Nigeria Meregaru by removing history in the school. So you will not research, you will know nothing about history of the world and how it works. Look at how it works here. Look at how it works. I don't want to be the one, because why I'm not doing this is that, so you know, I am not concocting any story out. Rather, I am playing the history to you. This is how they teach their own people. In where I'm working, there is somebody who the place they are educating this guy. When they bring teacher will come. It will download this history. It will allow it to play. They will start writing it down. Not you using your mouth to tell a history that you don't know. That is why we remain where we are. That is why we remain where we are. Because we don't want to progress. We don't want to learn from those who know more than us. We don't want to follow protocol of the existing countries in the world. This is the only program that brought me here today. And I will continue playing you from foreigner to local to Africa. So, open now, because you know they made mistakes all this while. What is the time for you to come and mend your mistake? So know that the declaration of government in exile is the best thing. Eh? Yes, they fight us because they want to make that we remain in one Nigeria. But we have refused to do that. That is why we have government in exile that make a declaration with a document of the name called United States of Biafra. Like every other country in Africa. Go choose. Have you seen that we are not only one, that we are, that Oba told they see clearly. And he understands the template. He knows the road. How every other countries make it easy because he don't want to declare war. And that is why he told you that even if it takes us 20 years for us to get recognition that we are going to be in exile, declare it, and be controlling Biafran territory. Today, what is going on? Is it not the criteria that Biafran has met so much? That is why we said we have overmet every criteria to become a country. We have overmet those criteria. We have met a criteria. We have over. I am going back to the foreign, to the Europe, before I come back to Africa. I will continuously giving you this message, even though he's spending your heart. That is the message for this week. For you to know that what we have done, that many people have done it in the past. Government in exile. How they are possible? Who are these? It's working. It has worked for many people, so it must going to work for us. It worked for Bangladesh. It worked for India. It worked for Estonia. It worked for Lithuania. It works for many countries in the world. Government in exile. Listen, there's that guy. Very long time. I hope, my brother, you are okay. I worry sometimes. I called you yesterday. I could not be able to reach you. You are not online. I want to check what is wrong. Are you okay? But I'm happy that I see here. So you are welcome. Thanks so much, my brother, for being here. Thank you so much.
This is a specific question that distinguishes between two different historical situations. 1. Classical governments in exile, World War II. Governments that fled a country that was fully recognized and sovereign, but occupied by a foreign power, e.g., Nazi Germany. 2. Provisional governments in exile, independence. Political movements fighting for a new nation that declare independence from colonial/imperial rule while operating from a foreign country. The second category directly answers your question. Here are the most prominent examples of countries that made a declaration of independence in exile.
Do you know why they said that here answer my question? My question to my research is it only United States of Biafra has made a declaration of a new country in exile? Because I use myself to ask that question, so I will know if Obato Obie deceived me, or if the government are not doing the right thing. That's my question. That's what I tell that they now start giving me the one that met my question. Go down. Take it into Africa. Take it into Europe. Take it into Asia. My brother, we are fine. There, we are. I hope you are good, my brother. Okay, he says okay. Thank you so much. Biafra has already come in our time. That's our declaration is the key to everything. Our sister Tina always use that word. This is a child of necessity. It's a certificate. It's under must. Let's continue.
Or established a recognized provisional government in exile, and later became fully sovereign nations. 1. Bangladesh, 1971. Declaration in exile. The Provisional Government of Bangladesh, also known as the Mujib-Nagar government, was formed in April 1971 and operated from Kolkata, India. The fight. This government was established to lead the struggle for independence from Pakistan, then known as East Pakistan. It was responsible for coordinating the liberation war. Result. Following the war and its victory, the government in exile returned to the newly recognized country, and Bangladesh achieved full sovereignty in 1972. 2. East Timor, Timor-Leste, 1975 to 2002. Declaration in exile. After Portugal withdrew in 1975, the FRETILIN party declared the Democratic Republic of East Timor, Timor-Leste. Indonesia invaded days later. The leadership and government then operated in exile for decades. The fight. For over 25 years, the political and diplomatic struggle was maintained by leaders operating abroad, in Lisbon and other locations, while resistance continued internally. Result. After a UN-sponsored referendum and further international pressure, East Timor achieved full independence and UN recognition in 2002. 3. The Baltic states, Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia. While their independence was not declared in exile, their governments in exile, GIEs, were critical to their eventual re-sovereignty. The situation. After being illegally annexed by the Soviet Union in 1940, these countries maintained diplomatic representations and governments in exile in Western capitals, like Washington, D.C. and London, throughout the entire Soviet occupation, 1940-1991. The fight. These GIEs did not control territory, but successfully maintained the legal fiction that their sovereignty had never ceased. Result. When the Soviet Union collapsed, these historical GIEs, or their diplomatic principles, were instrumental in ensuring the three states were recognized as restoring their original sovereignty, rather than creating entirely new states. They are now three fully recognized countries. Important distinction: governments in exile versus independence movements. You will also frequently see historical mentions of governments in exile from World War II, such as Polish government in exile, London. Norwegian government in exile, London. Dutch government in exile, London. These are slightly different. They were already the fully recognized governments of sovereign nations that had been temporarily occupied by Germany. They did not declare a new country, but rather maintained the legal continuity of an existing country until liberation.
The same way Biafra did not declare a new country. We make re-declaration. We claim it back. That's what we did. Like O2 are the... Imagine that these countries that we mentioning here, Norway, Polish government, and Dutch, they have all a country in the past. But because of Germany is occupying their territory, the way Nigeria is occupying Biafran territory that was declared in 1967 to 1970. Then what happened? For these people to not go into war with Germany, what they did, they run into exile to push from there to get their country free. That is what Biafran people did today. That is what we did on November 29. That is what Obato Obie did to us, give it back to us, what belongs to us. We represent, he take from the history of this country. It's when I research go deep, I understand how Simon was the most smartest among all that have fight for this Biafra movement with Mazen and Dekan. Why these two were the most two smartest in the history of fighting for a freedom country. Look at, they follow the template of other countries. They listen to the history of other countries, how they got their own from abroad. That is why Mazen Kano from day one started the movement from abroad. That is why Mazen Kano started from where? From exile. Because many countries has used being in exile to get the creation of their country, and they become a full country without throwing a bomb to anywhere, without shooting any gun to anywhere, because we see how lawless Nigeria is. So what fits Nigeria is to declare a country in exile, and from there push for recognition. Once it comes, you become a full country, the world will tell Nigeria, get away from this territory. They are a sovereign state. These are truth. Other countries in Africa has gone through that process. Today, Biafran people and the Amazonia are passing through that way in Africa. And if those people have been able to get it, do you think that now we are in the map, we are in the history? Now, for the first time ever, they are telling you that Biafra have a government, but is in exile. Can't you think that the movement is very near? Only mentioning that Biafra has a government in exile could lead you to something if you are thinking. So you will come back from your envy, your jealousness, and the rubbish, and the being a fool you are. You claim one Nigeria. Nonsense.
They all returned to their full status after the war.
Let's go to Africa. I said, I am only going to be playing, so you will listen. I am not making it out. That is why I am here today. So if you don't hear it in the first one, as you join me, hear it again.
This is a specific question that distinguishes between two different historical situations. 1. Classical governments in exile, World War II. Governments
we are on the Europe side,
fully
first.
recognized and sovereign, but occupied by a foreign power, e.g., Nazi Germany. 2. Provisional governments in exile, independence. Political movements fighting for a new nation that declare independence from colonial/imperial rule while operating from a foreign country. The second category directly answers your question. Here are the most prominent examples of countries that made a declaration of independence in exile, or established a recognized provisional government in exile, and later became fully sovereign nations. 1. Bangladesh, 1971. Declaration in exile. The Provisional Government of Bangladesh, also known as the Mujib-Nagar government, was formed in April 1971 and operated from Kolkata, India. The fight. This government was established to lead the struggle for independence from Pakistan, then known as East Pakistan. It was responsible for coordinating the liberation war. Result. Following the war and its victory, the government in exile returned to the newly recognized country, and Bangladesh achieved full sovereignty in 1972. 2. East Timor, Timor-Leste, 1975 to 2002. Declaration in exile. After Portugal withdrew in 1975, the FRETILIN party declared the Democratic Republic of East Timor, Timor-Leste. Indonesia invaded days later. The leadership and government then operated in exile for decades. The fight. For over 25 years, the political and diplomatic...
There's something I want you to recall into your mind. After East Timor declared their country in exile, Indonesia invaded East Timor. The next day, like what Nigeria is doing today. Oliver, you're welcome. Nigeria is invading Biafra land every day, the same way Indonesia invaded East Timor after declaring their country in exile. When we are making the declaration in Finland, there is armor tanker, helicopter on the territory. There is helicopter moving all over our territory. It's all through my people. There is armor tanker. There is military checking points everywhere. They are on the eve of our declaration. They introduce small checking points. Think that will stop us. So the same thing that East Timor passed through is what we are passing, because East Timor is a part of Indonesia. The same way Namibia is a part of South Africa. The history has been repeating. So don't think that there is a shortcut. Don't think that, hey, government in exile. How can you declare a country in exile? Fool. Come and hear it here. How they declared, many countries have been declared. 8 was declared in exile in Europe. 10 in Africa. Minus Biafra first and the Republic of Amazonia. Now they have all inclusive. Those now that have declared their country in exile. They dear. They play. They whine yourself. They whine Jesus. The government in exile. Imagine. Listen, in your so-called Africa, for you to know that there is those that make the decision of their country in Africa from exile, and they from there put fight, got their own international recognition. That is diplomatic that Biafran people are going through with the United States of Biafra that make the decision of a new country with a document. They play, they whine yourself, they waste your time.
Struggle was maintained by leaders operating abroad, in Lisbon and other locations, while resistance continued internally. Result: after a UN-sponsored referendum and further international pressure, East Timor achieved full independence and UN recognition in 2002. 3. The Baltic states, Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia. While their independence was not declared in exile, their governments in exile, GIEs, were critical to their eventual re-sovereignty. The situation: after being illegally annexed by the Soviet Union in 1940, these countries maintained diplomatic representations and governments in exile in Western capitals, like Washington, D.C. and London, throughout the entire Soviet occupation, 1940-1990. The fight: these GIEs did not control territory, but successfully maintained the legal fiction that their sovereignty had never ceased. Result: when the Soviet Union collapsed, these historical GIEs, or their diplomatic principles, were instrumental in ensuring the three states were recognized as restoring their original sovereignty, rather than creating entirely new states. They are now three fully recognized countries. Important distinction: governments in exile versus independence movements. You will also frequently see historical mentions of governments in exile from World War II, such as Polish government in exile, London. Norwegian government in exile, London. Dutch government in exile, London. These are slightly different.
The same evil London that colluded with Nigeria and Finland to arrest our Prime Minister, to kidnap Mazen Nnamdi Kanu with the members of IPOB organization. The motive of Mazen Nnamdi Kanu using IPOB organization is different from the motive of those that are members of this IPOB. They use it to committed evil. I know how many times in Biafra they captured them. They said the China Samoro under IPOB send them. But Nigeria played it down because China Samoro is working for them. The same way Ogenkere today is working for one Nigeria. Photo, ATM. Nobody should be that. Not you now. You had it there many countries in this world. So I want you to, you can easily beat up your head and say, oh, so today it is a right to form a government in exile and make a declaration of a new country in exile. Today you can see it clearly that we are not the first and we are not going to be the last. That was supposed to be giving you joy. And what joy again? That you have a government that understands the importance of you having your own country and how the procedure, the process, the protocol, the existing criteria that we must follow. That is what your government is doing. So do not panic. They are getting it right. Remember that our line is still open in case if you want to call to lay your voice. The number to call still remain +9733605137. Please like and share the program. If it is your first time coming, you will see a link. This link here is for you to go to the page. Just subscribe. It will not kick you away from the program. It's for you to subscribe and also do what? Turn what? Your notification on so you know when we are live. We are not here to propaganda. We are not talking about Adede Orama. No, this is the side we choose to do. To prove to you the right of this movement that we are into right now. After now that we have made a declaration, how we have automatically right to declare a country from abroad, from Europe, from anywhere in the world, like every other countries, up to 10 in Africa, 8 in Europe or in Asia. Take it like that.
They were already the fully recognized governments of sovereign nations that had been temporarily occupied by Germany. They did not declare a new country, but rather maintained the legal continuity of an existing country until liberation. They all returned to their full status after the war.
I hope you listen it here. Let us now go into Africa. Come, let us go into Africa.
Yes, several African countries and independence movements have operated with governments or provisional governments in exile, especially during periods of colonial rule, occupation, or civil conflict. These governments in exile, GIEs, fall into two main categories. 1. Classical government in exile, sovereign state under occupation. The most prominent example of a fully recognized African state with a classical government in exile is Ethiopia, 1936 to 1941.
First country in Africa that introduced government, used government in exile to get their independence is Ethiopia in 1936 to 1937. Sorry, to 1941. Please, between 1936 to 1941, how many years? Ethiopia fought in from exile for them to be free.
Following the invasion and occupation of the country by fascist Italy, Emperor Haile Selassie I established a government in exile in London. Goal: to maintain the legal continuity of the Ethiopian Empire and
Where did Ethiopia establish the government in exile? They said where? London. That is where they established their government in exile. That is where Ethiopia, the first country ever in Africa, in 1936, that established government in exile. After they established and declared Ethiopia as a country, they stand until 1941. Until 1941, before they got their fully recognition as a country. Mwokoko.
International support against the Italian occupation. Result: with Allied support during World War II, the emperor returned, and Ethiopia's sovereignty was restored. Ethiopia is one of only two African nations, along with Liberia, that largely avoided full European colonization. 2.
Another people again, Liberia. Liberia declared their independence in abroad. Where? London. They met the declaration of their new country as government in exile. Where? London. That is what Obatobi did. That brings our official declaration of the United States of Biafra in exile in Finland. It's not abomination. It is a right of a people that don't want to go into war. Rather, they want to go into political and diplomatic and legal movement. They don't want war. Engage into war. That is what Obatobi prevent war. He told us after the declaration that we are not going to go into war to confront Nigeria. Rather, we are going to use diplomatic pressure, legal movement, political movement to achieve our recognition after our declaration in exile. We are not the first. We are not going to be the last. The first in Africa is Ethiopia. After Ethiopia becomes another person. Yes, 6 years. Before Ethiopia will be able to get international recognition, it took Ethiopia 6 years. Before they can be able to get international recognition. Mwokoko.
Movements operating in exile, fighting for a new state. Many African liberation movements established formal political structures in neighboring countries or international capitals, which effectively functioned as governments in exile, gaining international recognition from bodies like the Organization of African Unity, OAU, Namibia, SWAPO, the Southwest Africa People's Organization, SWAPO, which fought for independence from South African administration, was widely recognized as the official liberation movement and formed a government in exile that operated mainly from Zambia and Tanzania. Result: SWAPO led the country to independence in 1990, and its leader, Sam Nujoma, became the first president. Angola, GRAE, FNLA. During the Angolan War of Independence against Portugal, the National Liberation Front of Angola, FNLA, formed the Revolutionary Government of Angola in Exile, GRAE, in Leopoldville, now Kinshasa, Congo, DRC, in 1962. Note: while initially recognized by the OAU, support later fractured among rival liberation movements, MPLA, UNITA, FNLA, before the final Declaration of Independence in 1975. South Africa, ANC in exile. While the ANC...
Do you hear South Africa? They are also in exile. South Africa, with the group called ANC. They are in what? They are in exile also.
did not form a formal government in exile, its armed wing, Umkhonto Wisizwe or MK.
They form armed wing in exile and used to fight for their freedom. But Robert Obier said no. The government said no. We are not going to this 21st century, even though we have all it takes to go with armed struggle to Nigeria this time around. Because this is no longer 1967 1970. Everything is available to us right now. But we said, okay, no, we are not going to go to that way. Let us use what? Diplomatic movement. Let us drop armed struggle. So we can be able to achieve recognition very fast. More than because they have seen those that use they use armed struggle. Some of them took them 24, 27 years. Some of them 10 years. Some 6 years. Some 8, some 9, some 10. Some 1 year. It took Bangladesh 1 year, and because they dropped armed struggle, immediately they enter into negotiation. Immediately after the declaration, they do what? They drop armed struggle and go into diplomatic. That makes India to ever give them first recognition, seconded by Pakistan that arrested their leader, but it becomes a mandatory, and also this London recognized Bangladesh. Imagine such a thing.
And the entire political leadership operated from outside the country, largely Zambia, Tanzania, and later London, for decades after being banned. They were recognized as the legitimate voice of the oppressed people. Contemporary examples: unrecognized. In more recent times, various opposition and secessionist movements have declared governments in exile, though they lack international recognition as sovereign states. Mali. Opposition politicians announced the formation of a transitional government in exile in 2024 following military coups. Biafra, Nigeria. The Biafra Republic government in exile, BRGIE, maintains a political structure operating outside Nigeria to push for secession. Ambazonia, Cameroon. Secessionist movements fighting for an independent Ambazonia, English-speaking region, have established political councils and governments in exile. This video discusses African leaders who are exiled, which is a related but slightly different aspect of the theme of governance from abroad. 10 African presidents who were overthrown and exiled.
I hope you're listening. Now, we are going to go deep in our way of doing this analysis. Now, I know why I repeatedly playing it to you, so you know that it's not my makeup story. That is a history that you need to know. So please, the first time coming, please try and like the program, please. Like the program. Endeavor to do that. Just give us a thumbs up. Because when you like, other people will know that we are alive, and they will come to understand why we are discussing issue of government in exile. E.g. Amundi Biafra, E.g. Amu USB, E.g. Amu Ihomino. You on your IPOB. A man that was the most worst disgracing organization for the world of IPOB. IPOB organization is one of the most disgraceful, shameless organization I have ever entered in my life. That's the organization of IPOB. That one is their shame is everywhere. Their shame, they shame me. When I shame, they shame me IPOB. As I play it again, we'll be pausing and be putting our own words where it's supposed to be on our own case.
Yes, several African countries and independence movements have operated with governments or provisional governments in exile, especially during periods of colonial rule, occupation, or civil conflict.
I hope you followed me. Yes, several countries and several countries in Africa, independent movements have operated within the government of provisional government in exile. Many has done it in the past. Instead of, see, it's only Alexander Stubb, Finland is the first person ever in the history of the world that arrested a leader of a new country in exile. It's only Finland that has that record. It's only Alexander Stubb has done such evil marvelous thing. Others protected those that are in their own fighting for a new country in exile. They make a declaration of their government of their new country in exile. Every other countries give them protection. It's only Finland that arrested a man who is fighting for the blood of his own people, waiting for on the eve of declaration. Finland took him away. After he had submitted all the documents about even that declaration, of even this our real declaration of the United States of Biafra. And what do we gain? What we gain is Finland arresting. Finland was that first country ever in the history ever that arrested a prime minister of a government in exile. That is what Finland did. Also, Nigeria is the first country ever that kidnapped a leader who is fighting for a new country. Look at the history of two of them. Kidnapping, and even Masamara was being kidnapped by Finland, not only arrested. They kidnapped him. They kidnapped Simon Eba, put him in prison because of many resources are coming from Biafra land. And Finland think that they can be able to reach themselves. Instead of that, Finland, the level of earthquake will happen to you in future, you never believe it, because you have brought calamity upon you. The people of Finland, your president called Alexander Stubb has brought calamity upon you, and it will come. It will never go scot-free, because check our words from our leader Mazinande Khan. Whatever we prophesy is going to fulfill. Why? Yes, they passed the same process we are passing today. Despite that they did not declare their own independence in exile. But when Finland was being declared, the red Finland people refused. They give them run off. They all fight together and kill themselves. The same scenario is where we find ourselves. The same. So it's not only us in the history of this world has made a declaration of a new country and have a government in exile. We are not going to be the first, either the last. No. More will join in future. Let's continue.
These governments in exile, GIEs, fall into two main categories.
Two main categories, listen.
Classical government in exile, sovereign state under occupation. The most prominent example of a fully recognized African state with a classical government in exile is Ethiopia, 1936 to 1941.
Ethiopia, for Moria, 1936 to 1941. They are the first in Africa that used government in exile to achieve their freedom of their people.
Following the invasion and occupation of the country by fascist Italy, Emperor Haile Selassie I established a government in exile in London. Goal: to maintain the legal continuity.
Where did he establish this government in exile? London. The same way Masaban established it in Finland. That is what the president of Ethiopia did in 1936 to 1941. When we come here, we give you fact and figure. You are coming here to hear what you will hear to every another platform. And that is why where there will always be few that will believe in truth and reality. That is it. But we are here to educate ourselves. For me to know that I am not the first, I'm not going to be the last that have government in exile. In Ethiopia, they did it in 1936 to 1941. They did it officially.
Continuity of the Ethiopian Empire and rally international support against the Italian occupation. Result: with Allied support during World War II, the emperor returned and Ethiopia's sovereignty was restored. Ethiopia is one of only two African nations, along with Liberia, that largely avoided full European colonization.
Do you hear that?
2. Liberation movements.
Ethiopia
operating in exile.
Ethiopia fought against colonial movement. Liberia fought against colonial movement. But Nigeria welcomed colonial master. Nigeria welcomed colonial master. Why others fought against it? Ethiopia, Liberia, they are in exile, fought against those that want to colonize them. But say they come, the so-called one Nigeria, they embrace, they welcome it. Shame on all of you. Fake country everywhere.
Fighting for a new state. Many African liberation movements established formal political structures in neighboring countries or international capitals, which effectively functioned as governments in exile, gaining international recognition from bodies like the Organization of African Unity, OAU. Namibia, SWAPO, the Southwest Africa People's Organization,
Do you hear it here? Now we have left Congo, we go into what? Namibia. Namibia, when there was fighting South Africa for them to have their own freedom, their government is in exile. and they went into war with South Africa until the African Union intervened. The UN also intervened, and they end the matter. The government in Exile come back home and take care of their people. Namibia also. Namibia got their independence from South Africa. Mokoko. They have government in exile. They have what? Government in what? Exile. They have it. They use it to fight and liberate themselves. Also, Tanzania. So, when Namibia formed their own government in exile, they operate from Zambia and Tanzania. They call them, despite being in Africa, their government is in exile. They are not like Ethiopia. Ethiopia and Liberia formed their own where? In London. But today, what is happening? The case is by our side. Today, Biafran people are suffering everything on our own because of what? London have interest in oil in Biafra land. Do you see how Namibia got their own? Through government in exile. When they declare it, they are operating from where? Zambia and the what? Tanzania. And these are the countries that Zambia, Tanzania recognized Biafra in 1970 to 1970 because they are free-minded people. They like development. Let's continue.
WAPO, which fought for independence from South African administration, was widely recognized as the official liberation movement and formed a government in exile that operated mainly from Zambia and Tanzania. Result: SWAPO led the country to independence in 1990, and its leader, Sam Nujoma, became the first president. Angola, GRAE, FNLA. During the Angolan War of Independence against Portugal, the National Liberation Front of Angola, FNLA, formed the Revolutionary Government of Angola in Exile, GRAE, in Leopoldville, now Kinshasa.
Do you hear that? Angola also formed government in exile. They operate from where? DR Congo. In 1962, when they give you the year. This is a history of those that use government in exile to build up their country, to get recognition. Today they become a sovereign state. Like I said, please, our line is open in case if you want to call, because we have a limited time. Our time is shutting down because of movement we have. So please, if you want to call, you are free to call us as we are moving, please. And also like and share the program. If it's the first time coming, there is a 3 dot in front of you. Click on that 3 dots. Then you will do what? You will see like and share. Please, and also subscribe on the YouTube page. Please do that for us. Angola, they also have a government what? From exile. Or Angola is official. Namibia is what? Official. All these are those that form a government in exile to build their own countries and seek for recognition, instead of them to go into war. That is what the Biafran people. Our own case now is like the other people who decided to not to go into war. Even though they're going to war, they'll pray from nearby African country.
DRC in 1962. Note: while initially recognized by the OAU, support later fractured among rival liberation movements, MPLA, UNITA, FNLA, before the final declaration of independence in 1975.
Remember, Angola, from 1962 to 1975, how many years before they can be able to, before the finally declaration of independence in 1975? From 1962 to 1975, how many years that Angola fought for their independence? From exile. From where? From government of exile.
Africa, ANC in exile. While the ANC did not form a formal
government, South Africa also used exile to fight for their own independence in the hands of colonial master. But what they did not make a declaration. They do what? They go into arm wing, South Africa. They go what? Into arm wing. And they entering political leadership operating from outside the country of South Africa. Legal. Zambia, Tanzania, and the later London. South Africa later flew Their government in exile later on away from Zambia and Tanzania because of what they are seeing. They now went to London. You see? And when South Africa was seeking for their own independence, for their own recognition, do you know the country that first ever recognized them? Cuba was the first country ever that recognized South Africa government in exile as a country. They there now. You are one Nigeria. You are my IPOB member. IPOB my foot. IPOB terrorist organization. That is who you are. The indigenous people are now terrorists, and now Britain has started pushing again. They started again. At least in the first century. I'm going to prove it to you. That is why I said, if you want to call you, feel now to call us. They run into Zambia. For South Africa, it wasn't enough. They run into Tanzania. From Tanzania, they flew to London, finally, when they grabbed their independence in 1975.
Exile, its armed wing, Umkhonto Wisizwe, or MK, and the entire political leadership operated from outside the country, largely Zambia, Tanzania, and later London, for decades after being banned. They were recognized as the legitimate voice of the oppressed people. Contemporary examples: unrecognized. In more recent times, various opposition and secessionist movements have declared governments in exile, though they lack international recognition as sovereign states. Mali, opposition politicians announced the formation of a transitional government in exile in 2024 following military coups. Biafra, Nigeria. The Biafra Republic government in exile, BRG.
Emery does when 2024 may official declaration of the nation of Biafra. They now know that we have a government in exile. We are in the line. Now they have put our history where they put South Africa, where they put Ethiopia, where they put Namibia, where they put Angola in Africa. 10 countries in Africa, their government, their president comes from exile. They come from where? Exile. That is why I'm urging you to please to like and share this program, please. It's very important for those who want Nigeria to get this information. Share it on your Facebook for them to learn the history. Share it everywhere if you can. Help me to do that. It's very important. So today, it has been the history. Those that you had their history here, do they not get the recognition? Become a fully country. What they said here, government in exile in 2024, flowing military coup. In 2024, Obatobie is using military to fight. Is it not true? Biafra, Nigeria, the Biafra Republic government in exile, maintaining political structure operating outside Nigeria, for us to push international recognition after our declaration. They play. They also give us what? Amazonia also, from Cameroon, pushing for their what? Recognition. They call them the English-speak region, is what they call them. So I don't know what is eating you up in your mind, why you are not understanding how a country is being run, whether abroad, whether in exile or anywhere. Once the people met the criteria of the Montevideo Convention, you are as good as going. That's why you must be happy. So having government in exile, we are not the last, and we are not going to be the first. People have done it in the past. Both Europe, you have had it here, both every other place in these countries in the world. Now, let me give you the propaganda of what British is pushing this time around with the name IPOB. That is why you must debunk, you must deny yourself. I am not a member, I am no longer a member of IPOB. I am from newly declared country called United States of Biafra that are asking for recognition. IPOB, kill you there. Listen, let me give you something. Hold on, I'm coming. Listen from our brother. Okay, not on this line. Hold on. 1 minute. Listen to this.
The British are very, very wicked people. They hate the Igbo man. They are the problem that Biafra has today in Africa. They have started again instigating, calling IPOB bad names, terrorist organizations, so that the international community will turn their back against Biafra. The IPOB meaning indigenous people of southeastern Nigeria, and they are all Christians. Look at how the Fulani Janjaweeds have subjected this region to incessant attack, bloody one. For even the Britain, the Igbos in 1967, 68,
they are our problem.
Britain was the one that fought the war for Nigeria.
Yes, now.
Though Nigerian military clique was led by Colonel Govt, but the people that supply Nigerian military clique with arms, which made it a genocide, genocidal war, was the British. Then how did the war start? Listen, my good Igbo brothers, sisters, aunties, fathers, listen. The war started because there was a coup in 1966. A coup against Sadwanas. The coup was against Akintola, against Nnamdi Azikiwe, Abakatafa Bolawa. The coup was all Nigerian ethnicity coup. Listen good. But Britain, instead of seeing the coup as a general national coup, because the Igbos are too good, because the Igbos are too learned, because the Igbos are too educated, and they have failed the whole federal agencies, all facets of lives, Igbo man was there in 1960s coup. The British people, instead of announcing the coup, telling the whole world it is a national coup, of which the whole tribes in Nigeria were involved, Britain said, BBC announced it and said it was the Igbos. It was a coup from only Igbo extraction. That is why the Fulani Janjaweeds, the Hausa, the Yorubas, and other ethnicities, Nupe, Kanuris, Baris, even our brother Idoma, they gang up against us. Hey. All the ethnicities, ethnic group in the Mid-Belt there, gang up against Igbos with such grievous, bloody animosities, killing Igbos in their large number from 1966, 1967, 68, 69, until 1970 when the war abruptly stopped. Who sponsored the war? Who orchestrated the war? Who instigated the war? It was the same Britain. Britain is always obsessed by, causing Igbo man heinous pain, hideous pain. Britain is busy bringing Igbo man down for over 60 years now, for nothing's sake. And as if they are not tired or done, they have begun to use Telegraph, a newspaper, one of the media house platform in Nigeria, announcing and writing, publishing, publicizing all manners of criminal stories, bloody stories about IPOB. That IPOB is behind kidnapping, IPOB is behind ritual killing, IPOB is behind killing the military, the soldiers, and orchestrating terrorist acts in Nigeria. To fear. Do you know why? I speak for Britain. Because we know who are orchestrating terrorism, acts of terror across Nigerian nation. They are the people from Sahel. The act of terror across Nigeria is caused by the Fulani Janjaweeds. In the northern region there, you see various terrorist platforms. You have Lakaruwa, you have Mahamuda, you have Boko Haram, you have ISWAP. All in the northeastern Nigeria, north, northwest, not in the southeastern Nigeria. Tell me how IPOB has been constituting terrorism in Nigeria. IPOB is indigenous people of southeastern Nigeria. They are not terrorist group. We are talking and discussing and trying to come together to know how we will challenge British reparation over what they have committed against Igbo man. There must be reparation. Reparation meaning payment, compensation of bloody acts, of slavery, of unnecessary genocide against a particular people, of unnecessary subjection into slavery or servitude of a particular people, the black man. This time around is not the black man in general. We are talking about the Igbo people. British was the one that instigated the war of 1967 to 1970, and Igbos were killed in their large number, the black Jews. Britain, the British are very, very shameless, wicked people. I'm sorry that YouTube understand what I'm saying. YouTube is a social media giant based in America, and I know that they know history. If they want to know how Britain instigated the war of 1967, 68, 69, and 70, I don't think YouTube has any time to make a case with me. The British are very, very wicked people. They hate the Igbo man. They are the problem that Biafra has today in Africa. They have started again instigating, calling IPOB bad names, terrorist organizations, so that international community will turn their back against Biafra. The IPOB meaning indigenous people of southeastern Nigeria, and they are all Christians. Look at how the Fulani Janjaweeds have subjected this region to incessant attack, bloody one, attacking churches, attacking villages, attacking communities, and Igbos, Christian Igbos are dying in their large number, which is why the current Pope Leo, an American Pope Leo, is questioning this administration, the man in charge of this present administration, why the Christians are dying in their large number on daily basis. This connotes one of the major reasons. Killings by Fulani Janjaweeds connotes one of the major reasons. Pope Leo, is sending across his question to Asurok, the presidential villa, the presidential office of Federal Republic of Nigeria. Are you listening to me? Britain is the one that instigated the war that Pitt sent over 4 million Igbos to their early graves. Children were massacred in large numbers. Malnutrition, which of course we've seen how Finland played important role during the war by sending materials, food materials released.
Today they have changed because of British.
Of Biafran land. They contributed money in Finland, denying their children's school fees, at least to make sure that most of the Kwachokod Igbo children were taken to hospital, for medication. Finnish as a country tried. The Finnish country that I'm seeing today, I don't know whether something has gone wrong because they are still holding Simon Epa incommunicado in prison in Finland. So what went wrong, I don't know. Britain is a devilish satanic country.
Honestly,
a country that doesn't know God. A country that, if not because of America, they will never finish paying United States of America. For what America has done for Britain during the Second World War, Britain will never finish the payment. They are very shameless. They are not ashamed of themselves. They are still surviving today because of the United States of America. And they want to bring Igbo man down because they know that we've gone a very, very long way in Africa. Igbo man is too further than the Fulani man, and the Fulani man with Islamic ideology and low mentality, and the people Britain keeps on favoring today because they think low, they turn their back on what Western civilization. But the Igbo man that embrace Christianity and Western civilization are the worst enemy. The people that British people are oppressing, persecuting, and suppressing down till today. I'm telling you that enough of all this, let me say, obsession by the British over the Igbo man, against Igbo man. I don't know what they have seen against the Igbos. I mean the Britain. Britain has never finished paying the Igbos the destruction of 1967 caused by Nigerian Biafran Civil War 6768-6970. Britain has never paid anything. Rather, they are instigating more war. Why do you not think they want? I don't know what they want. This kind of international antagonism, I don't know why it is coming, piling up against the Igbo man from the British axis. If you ask me, Iran, Yemen, they are not axis of evil. The true axis of evil is the United Kingdom and all its components. I'm seeing it that England is bent on bringing down the Igbo man. I am seeing the people of Ireland, the Scotland as good people. But you see England, where Queen Elizabeth ruled until her death, they are evil. Englishman is evil. Yes, English is evil. Scotland and Ireland are fair. Very, very fair with the Welsh. The Welsh and the Wales. The Wale I know, the Wale is they are very good people. You see British man, especially the English, they are the problem that Igbo man has to be. Honestly. The one they perpetrated in the past, let's say 60, 58, 57, 57, 55 years ago, they are not done with it. They are still piling up more oppression. I'm telling you, the worst enemy you can have in life is an instigator. An instigator will go to Mr. Paul and tell him, look at what Peter is doing. And go to Peter and say, Peter, look at what Paul is doing. He's just putting fire to make sure that Biafra emergence is nullified. But I thank God the kind of person we have in Trump. Trump is a Jew. He understands. He's a real American. He's not looking the other side, British angle. He's reasoning it from the angle of humanity. I mean Donald Trump. So all that Britain has been planning, to make sure that they bring Biafra down, they have failed. They are not going to survive.
Please like and share the program.
Britain can never succeed. They must go to court. IPOB, the legal team, they must take Britain to court because they have been instigating, defamation of character, writing bad narratives about indigenous people of Biafra. Look at what is happening in the north. They are the one creating Boko Haram so that they will be stealing the natural resources over there at Sambisa Forest. There is gold in Zamfara. There is gold everywhere in the north. And Britain is coming up with Lakarua, Mahamuda, Boko Haram, and other terrorist platforms. Israel should be informed about what Britain is doing against Igbo man. British adventurism in Nigeria is to cause problem and steal our oil, other vital, precious stones into the UK. That is their business. That's why they are busy telling all manners of ugly stories about IPOB. IPOB are agitation group. They are agitating for their right and they must separate from Nigeria. Nigeria belongs to Britain. Britain is evil. When Nigeria was created in 1914, my father was not there. Nnamdi Azikiwe wasn't there. Awolowo wasn't there. None of the pure Igbos, Negro, black Nigerians were there. Even the Hausas and the Fulanis, they were not there. It was only the handwork of Freddy Lugar and his wife at their conference town there. We were not there. Nigeria is their Nigeria. Nigeria is British Nigeria. It is a contraption structured under the powers of darkness, under lies and the slavery. It's a fake country. And Britain is benefiting from the current situation Nigerians are going through, where Nigerians are passing through hell currently, and British man is the only person benefiting from it. That's why they are busy attacking the real people are the Igbo people, the people that will bring this kind of excruciating economic condition of the country to a full stop. That's why they keep on telling the whole world all manners of ugly story about Igbo man. Britain must surely pay. Reparation is it, I believe. Britain must pay reparation.
Okay, but we've seen Burna Boy come out in time past. No, I think 2 years ago he came and said Nigeria is just like a company to this Britain, that enough is enough. And we see what Traore is doing in Burkina Faso, wanting to break away from this colonialism. Yes, in Africa.
Colonialism.
Yes. Do you not think that the Britain, they know that if the Igbos were to let alone, that if the Igbo leaves Nigeria, that will be the end of them reaping from, because a lot of people have said what Nigeria is making, Britain are collecting about like 80% of what Nigeria is getting from our natural resources. Is it not? Why is it difficult for Nigeria to really break away from this Britain?
Low mentality. That's what is making it difficult for Nigeria. Religious bigotry. That is what is making it difficult for Nigeria to break away from the hand grip of neo-colonialist British neo-colonialist policy and agenda is succeeding right now because Nigerian people hate themselves. The Fulani Janjaweed are religious bigots. I don't know what to understand. Another part of the region in Nigeria here, due to tribal bigotry, they are still falling victim to Britain, to neo-colonialist Britain. Are you listening to me? Yeah. We are not succeeding because Hausa man has low mentality. Fulani man is a religious pig. They don't want any other thing except Islam, Quran and mosque. They don't know that somebody is somewhere remote in Nigeria trying to pull this country down because of selfish interest. Neo-colonialism is another issue that the whole African continent is facing. British, the France, the Spanish, the Portuguese, the Belgian, they are working hard to bring this slavery back to African continent again, this slavery method. They are trying to enslave the entire continent to continue looting away our precious stone, our oil, and so on and so forth. That is why Britain is bent on bringing Igbo man down. But I'm telling you that time is coming. The court is what is going to decide. I don't think they have much British, let me say, supremacist, racist at the ICC level. No. The racist Britain, they are not much at ICC. That's why you see Israel succeeding at the war, on the war at Gaza. Because British, they are recognizing Palestinians now. That is how wicked and evil Britain is. They hate the Jews, they hate the white Jews, the red Jew and the black Jews. Look at how they are deceiving Canada into, unifying together with them to bring down Israel. They are recognizing state of Palestine. Who are the Palestinians? They are the ones that are inviting Hamas and Hezbollah to attack state of Israel. And they actually did that on 7th October 2023. And you see how the war raged. The British are among the Palestinians. I'm telling you, during the era of Yasser Arafat, Britain was with Yasser Arafat. Yes, who orchestrated most of the terrorist activities in the Middle East Europe. Yes, across Europe, across Asia, even Africa here. Yasser Arafat hijacked PLO, terrorist group, hijacked France jetliner, flew into Entebbe Airport, Uganda. Yes, Britain was aware. And Israel fought hard. Most of the hostages in that plane, they were all Israeli. And do you know what happened? Israel fought hard and released their hostages under 90 minutes without British knowledge. It shocked Britain. British is a racist country and they hate Africa. All the policy and plans and ideology or agenda that Hitler had for Africa failed during the war of late 30s and the 40s. I don't know what to understand. To me, the 40s, that was 1945. The agenda Hitler had for us, he has failed. Britain is trying to bring it up because Hitler could not succeed. They want to use this place for experiment. They know that the raw material is coming from Africa. British knows that the raw material for all that Europeans are using to develop their places, the raw materials are coming from Africa. That's why they are bent on bringing back colonial era to the Africa continent. Britain has failed. They are failure. And the Igbo man is the only person, the only tribe on the continent of Africa that will flop British plans.
Thank you so much, our brother. You had it. I know why I bring it. For people to know exactly what is going on. They have come. They are coming back. British has started reaching IP. If you see what it's exactly what our brother said is what they wrote against IPOB. That is why we must stand up. Now we are no longer in the era of IPOB. We are now in the era of what? United States of Biafra re-declared. They have started their propaganda the way they started it in 1970. They have started it again. Putting Igbos on bad record. Try to destroy who we are. That is why I'm telling you, my brother, give your support to United States of Biafra for you to be free. Second, colonial masters are back, but only United States of Biafra will end it. Run for your life by supporting United States of Biafra. That is the only option you have for you to be alive and for you to claim who you are. Do not say I did not tell you. I am here and I'm giving it raw to you. I don't say, oh, it's because of Biafra government in exile. It never happened before. Before I go, listen again. So you know that many countries, both Europe, both Europe, both Africa, that's what exile government has existed before. We are not the first. Neither are we going to be the last. Are you hearing it? Do not be deceived. Do not be deceived. Numbers of countries that are into this in Africa. Do you know that even Guinea-Bissau, even Guinea, are among those that use government in exile to build their own country? Stop running away from truth. Stand to hear the truth at all times. That this truth will set you free. That this truth is what is going to allow you to be alive. That is why it's very important. Now we are bringing it to you for you to know that it's not only Biafra have used government in exile before or now. That those that have used it before has used it and claim become a full country today. Where many of you who are Igbos, who are Nigerians run into. But when we talk about our own, you start making caricature of yourself. I am only going to play you because of my time countries that have formed government in exile in Africa, and where do they use it for? Listen to this as we use this to going to close our program for today. If you never like this program, I don't know what you're waiting for. Please turn the notification on. Like the program. If it's your first time coming, there is a 3 dot in front of you. Click on that 3 dot, it will open. You will see like and share. Please do that. It doesn't take you away. It doesn't take your data. The same thing is what it is. This is going to be our last.
This is a specific question that distinguishes between two different historical situations. 1. Classical governments in exile, World War II. Governments that fled a country that was fully recognized and sovereign, but occupied by a foreign power, e.g., Nazi Germany. 2. Provisional governments in exile, independence. Political movements fighting for a new nation that declare independence from colonial/imperial rule while operating from a foreign country. The second category directly answers your question. Here are the most prominent examples of countries that made a declaration of independence in exile, or established a recognized provisional government in exile, and later became fully sovereign nations. 1. Bangladesh, 1971. Declaration in exile. The Provisional Government of Bangladesh, also known as the Mujib-Nagar government, was formed in April 1971 and operated from Kolkata, India. The fight. This government was established to lead the struggle for independence from Pakistan, then known as East Pakistan. It was responsible for coordinating the liberation war. Result. Following the war and its victory, the government in exile returned to the newly recognized country, and Bangladesh achieved full sovereignty in 1972. 2. East Timor, Timor-Leste, 1975 to 2002. Declaration in exile. After Portugal withdrew in 1975, the FRETILIN party declared the Democratic Republic of East Timor, Timor-Leste. Indonesia invaded days later. The leadership and government then operated in exile for decades. The fight. For over 25 years, the political and diplomatic struggle was maintained by leaders operating abroad, in Lisbon and other locations, while resistance continued internally. Result: after a UN-sponsored referendum and further international pressure, East Timor achieved full independence and UN recognition in 2002. 3. The Baltic states, Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia. While their independence was not declared in exile, their governments in exile, GIEs, were critical to their eventual re-sovereignty. The situation. After being illegally annexed by the Soviet Union in 1940, these countries maintained diplomatic representations and governments in exile in Western capitals, like Washington, D.C. and London, throughout the entire Soviet occupation, 1940-1990. The fight. These GIEs did not control territory, but successfully maintained the legal fiction that their sovereignty had never ceased. Result: when the Soviet Union collapsed, these historical GIEs, or their diplomatic principles, were instrumental in ensuring the three states were recognized as restoring their original sovereignty, rather than creating entirely new states. They are now three fully recognized countries. Important distinction: governments in exile versus independence movements. You will also frequently see historical mentions of governments in exile from World War II, such as Polish government in exile, London. Norwegian government in exile, London. Dutch government in exile, London. These are slightly different. They were already the fully recognized governments of sovereign nations that had been temporarily occupied by Germany. They did not declare a new country, but rather maintained the legal continuity of an existing country until liberation. They all returned to their full status after the war.
Thank you so much, my people. Until we see again tomorrow. One love. In US government in exile, we stand for our freedom that is very, very granted and very, very secured. So please, we must continue to support United State of Biafra redeclared. Airborne, we move.